I saw a man on the street interview a couple of days ago on TikTok. I think we have it here for you, of a young guy walking around asking older people living in the UK, so in Scotland, in Northern Ireland, in Britain and Wales, if you were in your 20s today, what would you do with your life? What advice would you give to young 20-somethings living in the UK? The answer, it was just devastating. Resoundingly, every single one of them said, I would leave. I would emigrate. There's nothing left for me here anymore.
You were in your 20s today. What would you do?
I'd leave.
You'd leave.
I'd certainly leave the country now. I think it's going to the dogs.
Emigrate.
Emigrate.
The way the country is now, I would emigrate.
Emigrate. Why do you say that?
I just think this country's on its way down. I just don't think it offers much for young people now.
Emigrate.
Why would you do that?
To sing it, it's going to pot in England.
Get out of this country.
Did you say you left the country?
Yeah.
Where did you go?
South Africa, Australia.
Move abroad.
The thing is that I've seen it just go downhill, and it's so sad.
Well, say you were in your 20s today. Where would you go?
Well, I have a natural affinity for Spain, so I'd certainly go to Spain.
I think I would move abroad.
To where?
Well, probably Italy or Spain.
Where would you go?
Canada, New Zealand, Australia. Better places in England.
Where would you go to?
Probably New Zealand. It's a lovely country. It's clean. The people are so friendly. I love the place, mainly.
I love the place too, actually. New Zealand is one of my favorite countries in the world. I spoke at the March for Life there in 2023, and I'm dying to go back. So find me a reason to come back to New Zealand if you guys are watching, any Kiwis watching the show today. But you shouldn't have to answer that. You shouldn't need to say there is nothing left for me here anymore. That there are better places than the place I was born, that my grandparents were born, that I want my great-great-grandchildren to be born in. We're throwing in the towel and we're giving up. England has gone to the dogs, they say. How pathetically sad. An entire country, an entire culture, just regular people who didn't ask the hard questions when they still had the chance to, who didn't have these tough conversations, who didn't confront this friction between Eastern and Western culture fast enough, realizing in many, many, many ways that it might be too late. I'm a big believer, by the way, that it's never fully too late, that you always need to be fighting for your home. We always have to go on offense. That's what we're called to do, especially as Christians in the world. We are not of this world, but we are in it. And we are called to make sure that we make a difference and try to make this world a little bit more like the next one. But these are the conversations we desperately need to be having in the United States before it's too late. Like America, the UK and France and Germany and so many others were all unapologetically Christian countries. Are they now? I'm honestly not so sure. And I don't even think they would answer that. I mean, for Lord's sake, the King of England is reciting Islamic prayers in Arabic. He's the head of the Church of England. But this is where we have come. I feel for these people who are in their 60s, 70s, or 80s, looking back at their life and saying, we didn't do enough. We failed you. We failed our kids and our grandkids and their grandkids. But lucky for us, we are still in our 20s. It is not too late for us to be asking these hard questions. The vast majority of you who watch the show are Gen Zers or young millennials, and we're in our 20s or early 30s, and we can ask ourselves today, right now, frankly, yesterday, do we want to live like this? Are we willing to fight back? Is Islam compatible with Western civilization? That last question is the most important question we could possibly be asking ourselves right now. The threat of socialism has always existed and will always continue to exist. I am literally the spokesperson of Socialism Sucks, okay? I worked for Turning Point fighting for that for many, many, many years. But socialism, with the exception of New York City, has largely been curbed with our generation already. Islam has not. And in many ways, it represents a far bigger immediate threat to our country, to our religion, to our way of life, to our culture, and to freedom than anything else in the world today. But we're afraid. We're afraid of being called Islamophobic. We're afraid of being called a bigot or racist or intolerant. But I meant what I said last week on that podcast with the Daily Signal on problematic women. Islamophobia literally translates to an irrational fear of Islam. Phobia is an irrational fear. I don't think it's irrational to fear a culture that treats people this way. I think that is a very rational understanding of the past 50 to 100 years, especially, but also the last, give or take, 1,500 years in human history. Let's even zoom in even closer. I think that's a pretty rational fear in America, especially for our friends living in New York City for the past 25 years, give or take. I don't say any of this because I hate people who are Muslim. Don't hear that. Please don't mistake this conversation in this episode for me saying that I have this deep hatred of people who practice Islam. I'm sure a lot of you are going to watch this video and say that to yourself and walk away with that being the takeaway, but don't make that mistake. Because the truth is, I say all of this and we have this tough conversation and we ask all of these hard questions because of my genuine love for people. I love people. And as Christians, we are called to love all of our brothers and sisters, all humanity across the globe, because we can see them as made in the image of God, just like you and me. We can see Christ in them. We see the Holy Spirit in them. And it's because I have this profound, deep love for people, especially for marginalized and innocent people, that I want more for humanity than Sharia law and radical authoritarian Islamic regimes. I want more for America and for Europe and for the world at large than a complete lack of freedom of speech, an inability to dissent against your own government. I want more for people than authoritarian radical theocracies where you don't get a say in a democratic process. Ironic, right? How the people screaming in your face about how they're saving democracy are electing Muslim socialists now if they took 5 seconds to see the end result of Sharia law. I want more for people, I don't know, struggling with same-sex attraction than being literally thrown off buildings or stoned to death in the year of our Lord 2025. I want more for women than being legally classified as property, being told it is illegal for them to have the same access to an education as men, to work in the same workforce as men, to freely marry who they want to marry and fall in love, to wear what clothes they want to wear, to speak out loud. Last year in Afghanistan, the radical Taliban government, again, terrorist government, actually made it illegal for women to speak out loud in public. So dogs barking on the street have more rights than human beings because women's voices are apparently too alluring and tempting for men to struggle with every day. I want more for what just happened last week with women. I want more for women than being told the only way for them to seek emergency medical care in places like Afghanistan is to show up to a hospital to only interact with female staff who it's illegal for them to work, by the way. So good luck as a woman seeing a female doctor and female nursing staff now in Afghanistan. The only way for you to receive life-saving medical care is for you to show up to a hospital with a burqa on. Can someone explain to me how an appendectomy or childbirth or life-saving trauma surgery is going to work with you covering every square inch of skin on your body? I want more for children, for our daughters, for little girls, than to be told at 9 years old they need to marry someone 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years older than them and bear their children. You care about The Handmaid's Tale? This is The Handmaid's Tale actually come to life. Not what the Western media is trying to twist and turn this to look like, but real life. Because we love people, we should want more for them than the hatred, the authoritarianism, the complete lack of freedom, and the violence that always inevitably accompanies Islamic governance. Always. And I know the consequences of saying this. I do. We already have a lot more targets on our back in the conservative movement in the last 10 weeks or so, 10, 11 weeks. And we've all had to be confronting in our own mind, how far am I willing to go? What am I willing to say out loud? Am I willing to ask the hard questions? Am I willing to say the hard truths? Am I willing to attach my face, my livelihood, my family, my safety to telling the truth to the world? I think it's that important. I think this is a hill worth dying on. Not out of hatred or bigotry or xenophobia or Islamophobia or racism or whatever you want to call it, but out of love. Just as much as we need to be making informed decisions about the future of our country, you guys also know I am a huge advocate about making informed decisions about our individual day-to-day lives. The same goes for making our decisions about our healthcare. It is open enrollment season for health insurance, and insurance companies are betting that you'll just auto-renew the plan that you had last year without asking any questions. But I think you are much smarter than that. If you're tired of way overpriced premiums and confusing fine print, there is such a better way out there. Crowd Health is a community where people fund everybody's medical bills directly. No middlemen, no networks, no nonsense. Stop playing the insurance game and take control of your healthcare. With Crowd Health, you get healthcare coverage for under $100 per month. And that's not some bare bones plan with a million different exceptions that doesn't really cover your healthcare when you actually really need it. Instead, it includes access to a dedicated team of health bill negotiators who will fight on your behalf. That is so important. Discounted prescriptions and lab tests that actually save you money, and a massive vetted database of affordable, high-quality doctors handpicked by the healthcare team at Crowd Health. If something really major happens, you will only pay the first $500, and then the crowd, the community, steps in to help you fund the rest of your medical expenses. It's honestly what healthcare used to feel like before everything got way too overcomplicated by these horrible corporate middlemen. It's a real community of real people who actually want to help each other with unexpected medical events. You are not just another policy number in some faceless corporation's database. So far, Crowd Health's members have saved over $40 million in healthcare expenses because they simply refuse to overpay for their healthcare. The system is counting on you to stay stuck in the same hamster wheel of overpriced, overcomplicated mess year after year. Do not give them the satisfaction. I had a pretty major medical event in 2021, actually this week, almost exactly in 2021, with a serious kidney surgery. And at the time, I was covered by one of the bigger brand name healthcare companies who the day before, on Thanksgiving Day, called me to say they were not going to cover my very necessary kidney surgery that I desperately needed at that time. Since then, I have taken my healthcare coverage so much more seriously. And I love the idea of a community rallying together to help one another rather than just farming out this entire conversation to people you never get to interact with on the back end of insurance companies. This open enrollment, you can take your power back just like I have over the past several years. Join Crowd Health to get started today for just $99 for your first 3 months using code Isabel at joincrowdhealth.com. That is joincrowdhealth.com using the code Isabel. Just a disclaimer for everybody listening, Crowd Health is not insurance. You can opt out of the insurance hamster wheel, take your power back. This is how we win. Again, go to joincrowdhealth.com.